We'll call the Facilities Committee meeting to order. Let me open for invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and this opportunity we have to serve the citizens of Glynn County. Just be with us as we discuss the facilities in the JWSC system, and just give us guidance and wisdom. It's in your name we pray, amen. There's no comment period for approval. We have the minutes from the March 8, 2019 Facilities Committee meeting. Steve, you were here. Have you reviewed them?
Yes, and it's all fine with me.
I second it, so they're accepted. Next item is purchase meters for water flow testing and CPOMs.
Yes, sir. We, staff did the research. Looks like $20,000 on the outside be required. There's 2 points where it comes in and comes out of the CPOMs area that covers the entire area. We'll purchase the meters, use the flows. I'm proposing like a 3-month analysis, so we can pull the flows from, billing for those houses and facilities for 3 months. We'll compare it to the in and out to the neighborhood and figure out what kind of leaks we've got. And that was the purpose, is my understanding, of getting the meters, to analyze the leakage we've got in the system.
The idea of the master plan stated that we need to replace all the water lines in CPOMs. And we've not had many leaks in there, and we do need to replace some to improve fire flow. But I said, well, if we put meters at the entrance there where we connect in, we can tabulate and we can see how much leakage we have. And then so we may not have to replace, and just upgrade some of the lines instead of replacing all the lines, and save a substantial amount of money.
We do have some galvanized in there, and,
Right.
aside from, and we'll be talking about the models they ran to
Right.
look at that. Sure.
Will we have the cost of those at the next commission meeting?
You mean the
Cost of
actual
the meters?
cost?
Of the
Yeah,
meters?
we can do that.
Okay. All
We'll
right.
get the quotes and get those to you. We don't need permission to go out and purchase these if we've got budget to cover it right now, do we? This is not coming out of reserves. We can purchase this out of operations.
How much is it gonna cost?
$20,000,
Okay.
both of them, total.
15 to 20.
No, that's fine.
Okay. We'll move ahead and
Okay.
start that process.
Just a question, follow-up, Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
On the 2 locations, which of the 2 entrances, do you know?
It's at
North
Palm
Windward?
and North Windward are the 2 locations. The 8-inch that we just ran across the road is not a connection. So until we do make that, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the model.
Right.
It's the Palm and North Windward.
Okay, now we'll move to the discussion, update cost estimate for Magnolia Park water line replacement.
Yes, sir. We were able to get the engineer to go back and update the numbers for us. It didn't come out great, because one of the things they did was they went back and looked at the L Street numbers that were recently bid. The unit prices were transferred into his estimate, and it blew the numbers up pretty good. The original budget was $1,115,000. If you look, we took their budget, the engineer's estimate this week. He got it to us Wednesday. And the 2 detailed budgets or estimates that you see behind this, the text documentation, talk through the full scope and then a reduced scope. The reduced scope, the only difference being, as you recall, the 12-inch line going up Habersham was just it was to upsize it's not in the way of the work they're doing, but it would help things by replacing an 8-inch with a 12. If we took that out, it helps the numbers a little bit, but overall,
100,000.
you can see the estimates have cranked up considerably. Most of it, if you look at the original estimates, which I didn't put in here, but the big area where things changed dramatically were on the price per foot to install pipe.
Well, I disagree with what they did, because those are awful high unit prices.
They are, but they,
And they came from L Street, but L Street had 10-inch and 12-inch water lines, and we're talking about 4-inch and 6-inch and 8-inch water lines.
true.
And then they have for service laterals, they got 135 of all of those, and all they gotta do is connect them to the water line. I mean, I can't believe those are gonna be
Yeah. I don't,
that much money. I mean, there's several things on it. So, I mean, I hope that the price is not gonna be this much, because it's
Me
double
too.
what our estimate was.
yeah, and to that end, what I was gonna, what I wrote up and suggest in here is the fact that because the prices are so exaggerated, and the engineer admitted that he was rushing it to give us an updated cost, he's at about the 80% level. So he used the typical, we're not completely done, so these are preliminary. But my recommendation, staff's recommendation is we don't do anything to adjust the budget until we bid it out. If the bid comes back different, we'll take action, and the 12-inch will be an additive alternate. So if we don't decide not to do it to save money, we've got that option.
When are we gonna be able to bid this project? I mean, they've been working on this project 9 months now.
They have. I'm not sure how much further, but the guys are telling me they're about 80% through with our stuff. The areas that they were lacking on were actually the city's work, the stormwater stuff. That's the bigger areas where they're having conflicts that they haven't gotten finished. So I don't, it's not us, if that's your concern.
No.
Is there a forecasted start date on the project?
No, sir. Not yet. There's still some, oh, and by the way, I asked him to, some of the discussion I put in there related to our decision of whether to put it in the shoulder or put it in the road. Based on his analysis, and I wish you would take a look at that for me, Ben, he's got a lot of stuff in here that relates to charges and issues that only prescribed if you mess up curbing and that kind of thing and digging behind the curb in the shoulder. You know, staff, we talked about it. You know, if you're 3 feet away, you're putting a water line, you shouldn't mess up that stuff. But he put a lot of money in there for it. And if that's truly the case, then the concern might be that we go back and look at just going in the street to save on money, because they're supposed to be, the original discussions were they would be doing all the paving on their dime. We wouldn't be splitting the paving. So if they were going to do that anyway, all we'd have to do is cut it, put it in the flowable fill to, you know, secure the ground so it doesn't sink after they finish their complete repaving. We asked the engineer to, in addition, go back and give us the estimate if we did it the other way. So we just have them for comparison. And when I get it, I'll share it with you and we can talk about it some more.
Are we tied to this engineer?
Know what the city is. We're tied to the city. The engineer is tied to them. We're riding their coattails, so to speak.
Well, I think if it comes in this high, we're gonna need to relook and maybe cut back on the scope of the project, so when we bid it, we might wanna have
Alternates in mind.
where we can delete a lot of it, because when we first started talking about the project, if we've not had a lot of repairs we've had to make on those lines, then why do we need to replace them? And so we might just need to replace the lines where we're crossing the streets, where
Yeah.
they're gonna be repaving or something like that, so we don't have
Yep.
to dig up the streets in the
That
future.
makes sense.
My concern about putting the pipes in the streets instead of on the shoulder like they are now is if you have a leak, you gotta dig up the new pavement.
Yeah.
And so, and it does save by putting it on the shoulder, just connecting up the services, because you're right there by where the services are.
I understand what you're saying.
But
And-
anyway,
Anyway, those are the details that we were able to pull out of it this week. We'll stay on him about his unit cost.
for the committee members and those present on the next is a drawing that shows where the lines are in Magnolia Park.
Yes, sir. That's where the project is.
And we are adding some fire hydrants, so we have a 500-foot radius between them.
So, and again, that 8-inch that we're upsizing to a 12, you know, that might be a first to go.
Anybody got any other questions on Magnolia Park? Let's go to item 2, report presentation on North Mainland Splice projects.
Yes, sir. I've written up a kind of a summary of what was going on there. We have, and there's a table behind it, and I believe you had requested a map that shows the flows on the map. I've got a separate map from the two you see in front of you that pulls out the individual flows. The flows on here correspond to the table behind the little write-up. So you can see pre-work here, what the flow is, post phase 1, and then whatever predicted changes are based on phase 2 and 3. And the same thing for each of our lift stations that are in the North Mainland work areas.
Okay, let's show us, phase 1, show us what we did. Phase 1, we took that one pump station, started up at 4010.
We started at 4010, we go to 4039.
And so we upgraded the pump stations along this side.
Right.
Are they shown on that drawing?
No, we don't have it here.
Okay.
This is all the western path.
And what additional capacity did that give us when we come back?
Well, the big thing, we went from, let me get my notes just to make sure I fit to you. My understanding, based on the second page, on 4110, we went from 242,000 a day to roughly 431, or about 600 gallons a minute to a little over about 1,000 gallons a minute. So that's improvement in phase 1. And as you can see, when we switch to the alternative route,
Well, then what we need to look at dry well capacity.
yes, sir, that's what I'm looking at.
Speed flow is 2.5 times or 3 times the average there.
That on 4110.
Yeah.
Eyes are not good.
Almost double 4110.
Yep,
Yes, sir.
190,000.
That's about 200,000, yeah. 200,000 gallons a day. So basically, from the North Mainland, that's the additional capacity that we have.
Yes, sir. And when we switch it, and as I said in the little report there, one of the benefits of when we come down the western route, we're gonna free up a lot of capacity in the eastern stations to pick up, particularly that stuff along Highway 17 and those neighborhoods that are unserved now that some of them are in pretty bad need.
Yeah, and phase 3, we're gonna increase to 891, so we're gonna have a roughly 650,000, almost 1 million gallons of capacity. is what we're getting up there on the North Mainland.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. You see that?
I can't see it completely. Yeah, I was looking for 40, 48, 40, 28, and 4110.
4110 is the uppermost part.
4110 is the upper one. Okay.
And that's the one that,
48 is down in here somewhere. Yeah, there.
Right
Okay,
here on
right
Highway
here.
17.
in phase 1 came around
40.
this way because I guess it was easier to do that because they did not construct any more lines.
This
And
was
then
already.
This was, and now we're having to construct some lines on phase 2 and 3.
We did read, and in the report, I kind of referenced the fact that we did make some changes. The flows to 4048 used to go through 4005. 4005 was a big plant that was a big
Yeah.
pump station that was scheduled for serious rehab. When we looked at putting in the force main at 4,005, because of the obstacles and costs and having to challenge the railroad, we went a different route. As part of this phase one project, went to 4028 and on into the plant, which eliminated us having to work on 4,005 except to swap out pumps, because once you took the load off, you didn't need the big pumps there. So we put them at 4,006, which picked up the load, or has greater load, and put the small pumps in there at 4,005.
Was there a report prepared before we started phase one?
No, sir, not a detailed report like we've seen on some of these others. This was again at the time when we were.
How did we estimate this for SPLOST? Because this was in the SPLOST project. It was funded,
How
all
did
of
we
this,
estimate it?
both phases were funded with SPLOST. So
They are.
how did we come up with the scope of the project?
We actually came up with scope on the fly, because here was the deal. At the time, we were looking at the lawsuits that we're having, especially for Carriage Gate, and we were looking at what we could do with, to expedite the work up on the western route. And that was like 2 or 3 years out, which we're still seeing that. So what we looked at and what was brought to our attention is there's some opportunities to go on the eastern route to make changes that would give us enough capacity to meet some near-term deadlines and get those folks in business. And that's basically what the origins of the work on this part.
Well, what I see is we spent 3 million and then another 13 million to get 1 million gallons of capacity on the North Mainland.
Yeah, they're about 3 million.
Is there an alternative to that?
To what?
To having 1 million gallon capacity on the north end, an alternative to pumping it all south?
I mean, nothing short of doing what Ben said before, and that would be to build a new plant out there.
Okay.
It all goes south eventually. The only question is whether you take the eastern route or you take the western route.
Okay.
And the western route's the next 2 phases.
Jimmy, do we have a copy of this plan?
You don't I can get you one, would you?
Yeah.
If this size is okay, I can fold you up one and just.
Yeah. Okay.
Bob,
Yeah, that'd be helpful, thank you.
Okay.
you all would like that, obviously.
Now, just explain to us what we awarded the engineering for yesterday. For
The
the,
engineering for yesterday is the work on the force main down to 4036, that's the phase 3 part.
and we don't have to do anything to 4110. It's got adequate capacity with the pumps in there right now.
Right.
Okay.
All we're doing is making it easier for those pumps to push by putting a different force main in and running it. So that's phase 3. From 46 up here, down to 4035. This comes up to here. I'm sorry, there's just too much
Yeah, it goes
detail.
down
I couldn't
that
get any bigger.
Comes all the way down. to the Cary Creek
4035,
plant.
and then 4035 down to the plant. Everything from 4036 down that we've got to do is rehab the 2 plants, 4035, 4036, which they're going to need some help to be able to take the added flow coming in from 4110, hadn't been coming to them. The other thing we got to do is work on the gravity lines downstream of the 2 stations. And we'll talk about the southeast pipe results here in just a second.
Okay.
But right now, that's the phase 2 portion. 4036 down to the plant.
Will the engineering firm decide what those pump capacities should be at the new pump stations that we're upgrading?
That was derived back during discussions when
Okay.
we did the original estimates, or the last estimates.
All right.
So phase 2 and 3 will be an additional 11.1 million. And that's for the upgrade of
Yeah, yeah.
4035 and 4036 and
And the force main
the force main.
from 4110, and then also upgrading the sewer, not, rehabbing the sewer line,
Anything we've got to
the
do.
30-inch sewer line they're gonna talk about in a few minutes.
That's a bunch of money.
It's a big project.
Big project.
And my understanding, the purpose in all this is to make sure all the growth in the North Mainland, including whatever was to happen at trade winds, would be covered with
Academy
facilities
Creek.
we've got. Or covered by the conveyance system.
To get it to it.
Academy Creek's got capacity, that's not a problem. It's getting it there.
Lot of money.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
And I will get copies of the map.
Item 3, update on hydraulic model of CPOMS East.
Okay, so what we did here, we looked at the situation by making the connections. Let me get to the page you're on. We looked at it just connecting the 8-inch that we just put in across the road. I believe that was what the request was. And as you can see on the notes, we went from, at the first hydrant there inside CPOMS, we went from we're projecting to go from 11 PSI and 650 pounds, up to, with the 8-inch, 49 PSI to achieve that same flow. My understanding is, the standard is you should be able to flow a hydrant with, and maintain at least 20 PSI. So we're not capable, according to the model, to do that right now. But by connecting this in,
That's the 8-inch that was put in the other day before they
Yes,
paved
sir.
it. Yeah, okay. Now, the next map shows where we need to replace some lines to get,
yes, sir, there's some, as it turned out, Ellis, when he was looking at it, says, these 4-inch sections, if we can upsize them to a 6-inch, we get better results within the system downstream of those pieces. So those are a couple of bottlenecks inside that we would be well served to fix, regardless of what happens with the leak testing. I mean, the leak analysis. We looked at, he did a third analysis that I didn't stick in here, but just so you'll know, we did look at it. We looked at if we went ahead and went to the downstream at Palm or North Windward and made the connection across the road there to put in the 8-inch and give you better flows there. It didn't seem to change the system characteristics. So, you know, maybe that's one we don't go ahead and do at some future point.
So let me ask for clarification. With tapping in the 8-inch extension on Colonial, if I understand you, that there's no advantage to change the other 2 entrances from 6 to 8?
That's what the models indicate to
Based
us.
on hydraulic modeling.
Yes, sir.
But it is beneficial to connect the 8-inch
The 8-inch is a
Colonial.
good deal.
Okay, that's,
that would give us 3 connections too.
Yes, sir.
And then we need to eliminate the 4-inch bottlenecks, 2 places
right.
in the
Yes, sir.
system.
Those are,
That would solve the pressure problems. And
That's the way
with
it
the me-
looks.
With the meters, we'll find out if we got many leaks to see if we need to replace any lines.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good.
and if we do this project, what, do we have a forecast of when that might fall into the construction schedule? I mean, is that FY '20 or?
We could do that in the next 6 months.
Okay.
Just me looking at it from the scope of what we've got to do here, I believe we could get that programmed in the next 6 months to make the connection and upgrade the 4 inches if that's the direction we're given.
Okay. That, and I'm also thinking about, that's about the timing that we should get enough information from the
From the
smoke
leak.
testing
Oh, the smoke testing?
to also evaluate if we need to do any work on the sewer conveyance in this same neighborhood.
Yes, sir. I wouldn't put the two together, because one is the water. The sewer, I truly expect, what I expect to see on the sewer side is gonna be a lot of private lines that we'll have to deal with.
Okay.
You know, laterals. If there's on our side, the ones that we manage, I'm gonna say, you know, we'll probably see a few spots where there's a stormwater and a sewer lines that have, you know, somehow intermingled, and we may have to do some spot repairs, dig them up and replace those, but I wouldn't look to get categorical, let's replace this line as a result of smoke testing.
Yeah, and kind of where I was going with that, I know the county has had this neighborhood sort of in their second tier list for repaving. And, you know, once we take care of the water line issues, then it shouldn't be a hindrance for the county to go ahead and move that up on their list, whatever they choose to do.
Well, let me, I know we're looking at it for SPLOST, and SPLOST is probably not gonna hit till 2021. But one of the things we're trying to do in conjunction with the county and city, and I've mentioned it a few times, we're trying to be very proactive to coordinate with them on what's going on. If we don't already have video, and one of the projects that you guys have heard me talk about a lot is the fact that, remember we had the one line that stayed in a state of repair for about 11 months? The fear was that we have adjoining lines in the CPOMS area that are deep and in serious need as well. I had the guys go back and give me the documentation, the video and the pictures of what they found. They've given me a hit list and a map with the video. We know which ones are in the serious need and which ones are not. We're gonna do in situ or CIPP, we believe, for all of those lines with the money once we get it cleared up from the county. I don't guess there'd be any digging, so I don't guess that would interfere, but if we did have, now I think about it, it really doesn't have anything to do with the SPLOST, the future SPLOST at all. Once we get the approval for that money over there, we're gonna go through and do CIPP for all those lines, and basically eliminate any future liabilities on those lines, and so I guess they could go ahead and, as you say, pave. Sorry about that, I was thinking.
Is CPOM scheduled to be involved with the smoke testing? Is that one area it's gonna be?
I can't remember.
I'm not sure it is.
Can't remember. I'll double check though.
So how much of the water lines, sewer lines have been videoed in CPOMs?
I'm not sure, but I believe all of them. The way it was explained to me, here's the maps. I've got the maps, and they've highlighted in red the ones that were in need.
Okay.
And the videos that showed the pictures of the videos that showed the need. So I've got all that in my office.
So you can give us that at the next facilities meeting?
Yes, sir.
then? Okay, good. Okay, item 4, map presentation, discussion, photographs of manhole schedule for rehabilitation.
Yes, sir. The guys put me together a map of what we've done this year, and you can see the ones in the map you've got that are in green. Those are the ones we've completed, some 116. The ones in red are the ones that are still targeted for this year, that some 63 that are, you can see how they're spread out more or less.
Let me, I see one other thing on what we were just talking about, excuse me,
Yes, sir.
Jimmy. In the packet is Four Waters analysis,
Yes, sir.
and if you see, they were gonna be replacing every water line in CPOM. And it's gonna be about a $4 or $5 million project. And that just to me seemed awful high for, I mean, yes, it's an
Right.
older community, but it's not that old. But anyway, that's why we're doing this investigation, to try to see where we can maybe save some of that money. And then too, on the analysis, they looked at fire flows, at peak daily flows plus fire flows, and peak daily flow at 3 hours, and fire flows for 3 hours.
So they're looking at
Normally, you use average daily flow in 2 hours.
size, yeah.
And so it was really conservative so far as the sizing, so anyway,
Very conservative.
okay. Excuse me, go ahead, Jimmy.
The, anyway, the map we've got here.
I'd like to understand, are we saying the fire flows should be not 3 hours, but 2 hours?
2 hours with average daily flow, not peak daily flow. And to maintain a minimum residual of 20 PSI when you're having the fire flows.
Okay.
And you gotta have 1,000 gallons a minute when the fire,
Yeah.
at the hydrant.
I just, the term conservative, and I was having a hard time relating that to going from 3 to 2.
Well, 3,
And from peak to
and
average.
peak daily flow is a lot more than average daily flow.
Yeah.
So far as one base to start with.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, on the manhole rehab map,
Yes, sir, that's just the map of, green are the ones they've done so far, and red are the ones that are left to be done. The sheet behind it is a summary of the remaining manholes, and the comments or the condition issues, and what we need to do. In addition, they brought in, behind that is a series of photographs for the manholes that they've got listed. Variety of issues, everything from corrosion and the mortar in these old brick manholes are getting eat out. And I personally have had experience having bricks fall out and plug up lines, so that's not a good thing. The other thing is we've got a lot of I&I coming in where there's not still sealed walls or sealed entrances to, with the inverts or other drop lines.
yeah, all of the green manholes have been done.
Yes, sir.
The red ones, we still lack.
Yes, sir.
And how many do we lack? We've done 130?
63. Remaining.
63. So each one costs about $10,000.
Yes, sir. Thereabout.
So really, we need $630,000 in our budget
Yeah,
this year.
we're not gonna, well, they're doing this, they've still got some budget left this year. We're hoping to get a lot of this knocked out before the July 1.
Okay, so.
This was, as I understood it, this was this year's list. There may be whatever's left over and new ones to work on next year.
So this is fiscal year 2018-19.
This is.
19 and,
That,
yeah,
This
18,
year.
19.
So-
18,
So
19.
19.
But this isn't all the manholes that require
No,
rehab.
no, sir.
We have something like 800 manholes, right?
I'm not sure of the total. But this is what they were addressing for this year,
Okay.
or this was the goal.
So
This
this is
this
just.
calendar year, because that's 630,
This fiscal year.
in June.
until
Ending
the end of June.
July, yeah, ending at the end of June.
So they hope to get the other 63 completed
Yeah,
by the end of June.
that's correct.
Okay.
And these are considered the worst of the worst?
I couldn't say because they haven't inspected every single manhole out there. So there's,
Okay.
Well, do we have a list of all of the manholes that need to be rehabbed? If there's 800 of them? we should
that
have
was
a
kind of
list.
what I was saying, Ben, that we don't have every single manhole inspected as yet. Best I can see, they've got the list as they go through. We do have a list, I'm certain, but I'm not certain that it covers every single, that they've been to every manhole for an inspection.
How do we know we have 800 need to be rehabbed?
I didn't,
Did we say
I-
that?
It
I'm
wouldn't to
not
be
certain.
rehab, but there are 800 manholes.
well,
I
there's
don't
more
know
than
what
eight, there's
percentage
more
of
than
that.
800 manholes, but that might be the number that needed. I'm not sure that that's the number, though.
Well, I thought there was a number in the master plan.
I don't know. I don't remember that. But I don't remember.
on this chart, Jimmy, these are the ones that are planning to be rehabbed
These
now?
is, yeah, my understanding, that's the other 63 that have not been done, and the condition and the issues that they have for those.
So they planned 116 for 2019. July 1, 2018 through
No,
the
they
30.
rehabilitated 116 so far.
Oh, they have rehabilitated, oh, that's,
Yeah,
I see,
those are the
116.
green ones.
Uh-huh.
The ones with the red, that's the other 63.
So they were gonna do 179 during
Yeah.
this year.
If everything works out.
So they're about 2/3 of the way done.
Yeah, so,
April,
Be
May,
close.
June, and we're
If they keep-
3/4 of the way through.
they're at the right pace, it'll be close.
Now, are we gonna put this out for bid to rehab all these other ones?
Yes, sir. That was my understanding in talking to Andrew.
And when will we be doing that? So Bionomics is not gonna be doing any of these unless they get the bid?
That's my understanding. I don't know when that bid process is gonna be scheduled to completion and getting it out there.
For the next 63?
Well, that's kind of what Andrew
That's gonna slow
alluded
it
to
down.
when I was talking to him about it. I'll double check that, just to confirm.
Yeah, if they're gonna go through a bid process,
I know.
Gonna get there.
I'm thinking, maybe I got it confused
Probably
with
not
what he's
gonna
doing
get there
first of the
anyway.
year. They've been through a bid process previous, and best I can figure, they're working off the numbers they got. You know, where you take the winning bid and you just give them a small escalation each year on the unit prices. That's kind of my impression of what we're doing right now, but we're coming to the end of that 3-year cycle.
they could take the time for the bid process and award the 63 split up between more than one company.
They could.
And just get it all done
Yes, we
before
could.
the end of
Well,
June.
I think they want to use the same technology.
Well, I'm not certain that you can. The super coat, I don't think there's any limits as to who can, maybe it's being certified, but I'll bet you there's multiple guys out
That
there.
can do super
There
coat?
are, there are.
Super coat's what we've been using.
Yeah, it typically takes a 2-man crew a day at the most to do those.
When they-
I don't know what the
Parrot.
limits are on who can use it, or whether you've got to be certified to apply their coating. There may be limitations I'm not aware of. But I don't,
They have to clean it.
Yep.
And there's a lot of, we've had problems in the past where we have had contractors that didn't apply it properly, didn't clean it properly. And these people, Biometrics or Bionomics, seems to be pretty diligent at doing the proper things. So,
I'm not complaining about their work at all.
no, it seems to be.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like anything else. They guarantee it for generally 10 years, but, you know, they'll do the work and then maybe 6 or 7 years later, you'll find out where they didn't do as good a job as they professed. But,
Well, this shows us pictures of all of those that are proposed to be done, so we know what's gonna be done the rest of this year, so. That's a guide, okay.
well, I guess the most interesting thing, or one of the most interesting things I've seen since I've been on the commission is where when the tide came in, the manhole filled up. When the tide went out,
It emptied.
We've found the menace in the manholes over there close to the county building. We've got those, by the way, I was talking to Kirk about that. He says we found the source for all that stuff over there, and those are no longer sources.
Yeah.
What do we have in our budget for next year, proposed budget for next year for?
I want to say it's right at $1 million again.
Yeah, that was the amount that a previous commission had set on, was $1 million a year to do it. I think they've increased it some.
Okay, no other questions. Let's move to item 5, Jimmy. Southeast Pipe CCT studies.
Yes, sir. What you see in front of you is what the Southeast Pipe has done so far. They've videoed everything, and it looks to be that the lines down here are either PVC or they've been previously been lined with CIPP technology. The only issues that I'm understanding we've got, and as you can look at the pictures that are mapped on the line itself that they've been working on, they do look to be in fairly good shape. The only issues that the crew is telling me we've got are manholes. Manholes still need some rehab. I still waiting on the manhole pictures from our Southeast Pipe.
This is the 30-inch line that 4036 is pumping into.
Now, 436 goes into, that's the work that Bloodhound did. They're doing the stuff downstream of 4035, down to the plant.
They also did Whitlock Avenue up above 4035.
That wasn't underground. Underground utilities or underground, whatever they call themselves, they did. And they've got pretty good results up there, except for a relatively small portion of that line.
So when the estimate was $13 million, we thought we were going to have to rehab and reline the whole line. So now we're not going to have to reline much of the line. We'll have to rehab some manholes, it looks like.
Have to pay attention to our
Hopefully,
manholes.
we won't have to be out of pocket.
Right.
down on the north
Yeah, that should work out
project.
well.
And so these manholes need to be repaired, and the line is good.
That's the interpretation we're getting from the video and from the comments.
And are these, do you know when the plan is to do the repair on these manholes?
We hadn't started that process yet. We're just
Not part
now
of the
getting it.
63.
This
This is not part of this year's 63.
No,
These
no,
manholes are
this is,
not.
this is separate.
This is
all-
part of the engineering contract that we just awarded in the phase 2 and 3, so the rehab of those manholes will probably be done within that
Oh, it's
construction.
a part of that
contract.
Yeah, it's the
contract
North
cost.
Mainland project.
Just the North Mainland project.
And this is the preliminary site work, if you will.
Yeah, site investigation of
stages.
the
Yeah.
assets.
So the engineers will now take this data and incorporate it into their design for phases 2 and 3.
So there's more manhole money in that project that's not in the $1 million per year that we're
That's
spending.
correct. That's correct. Those are separate issues.
Okay, one thing that I want to talk about on there is II and sewer rehabilitation in the Academy Creek Basin.
As part of this,
No, we've not looked at, we've looked at St. Simon's, and that's because
Yes,
we
sir.
had the
We
consent
have.
order. But when do you think we need to be doing an II study on the mainland in the
We-
Academy Creek Basin?
staff's been talking through that, and it is high on our list. What we wanted to do was go ahead and put out the RFP here in April, hopefully by mid-April. The intent and hope is that, as we get the results back, it'll line up with the completion of the smoke testing over on the island, and that maybe we'll get a really good price from our current vendor or consultant, contractor, whatever you call them, over on the island. We're trying to line them up to give him some incentive to give us a good price so he doesn't have to remob. So,
Do we have SCADA on all of our pump stations?
yes, sir.
And we've got, just about everything goes through a pump station on Academy Creek.
Yeah, a lot of it does, almost all of it.
Almost all of it. So if we took the pump run times, we could determine which basins or which areas probably have higher II.
Yes, sir.
And then we could maybe just use our own video crew to video
We
a couple
could.
of those areas.
You mean just take
Yeah.
those? Yes, sir, we could. We use that as a basis to go ahead and figure out where we need to do smoke testing.
I think in the master plan, Four Waters looked at that and did something back then. So, you might get with Andrew and y'all talk about that.
I will.
Give us a presentation or recommendation. Item 6, update RFP for providing service to unsewered areas.
Item 6. Oh, this is the one that we talked about yesterday briefly. The RFP's out. We expect the responses back next week, so we should be getting that together. You've got a copy of the RFP that we sent out to everybody, or to the interested folks, and the maps of the areas that we intend to look at. And again, this is going to be we're calling it a dual purpose. In addition to finding out what's best means and the cost to serve these areas, we're also going to be looking at where we don't have them as our customers, what it would take to get them on our water system. I will say this, I got a call from what's the Baptist church that's over there at Arco? They want me to come by and talk to them about what's going on with the Arco getting sewer service and what our schedule and cost and that kind of thing are. So they're reaching out to us
Good.
in that neighborhood. I just, FYI.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind if somebody went with me that night to tell them about it. Just kidding.
Part of the issue with ARCO is it's a lot of private owners.
Yeah, there is. And I don't know what we do about that unless we just bite the bullet. The private owners, most of these homes, I get the distinct impression, the kind of rentals they've got, they don't want to invest a penny in their homes. And I know the renters are not going to do it for them. They can't hardly pay the rent and their water, or the water, I'm sure. So it's going to be one of those kind of things that I think CDBG can pay for a big chunk of it, but the other half, I believe if it's going to happen, we'll have to do it. Although I could be wrong. I've
Well-
heard both ways. Sometimes CDG will pay for it, sometimes they won't.
If, since it's a lot of sewer over there, if we engage public health, do you think that we can come up with a way that the owners would be required to make the repairs after we put the lines in?
I mean, we can't. Now, maybe if the, we talked briefly about how to get the property owners that have rentals to fix water lines and plumbing that's causing big water leaks and big bills for their poor tenants. And it's almost one of those things, if the only leverage we or the city or the county would have to be at the point where the buildings are vacant and disallow them from re-renting them until they got situations remedied. Now, if we put the backbone in and hooked up the people that were living in those homes and left stubs for the folks that were renters, or for the homes that were rental properties. Maybe we could work out policy with the city and the county to facilitate getting that done, but I don't see any leverage we've got.
I had a discussion with some people, commissioners up in the Atlanta area. And they had the county passed an ordinance. They had areas that were run down,
Yep.
issues in those areas where they were trying to bring the level of living up in those areas.
Quality of life.
Quality of life, and they had crime and prostitution
Well,
that they were trying to drive out.
yep,
And it was because the landlords, they were kind of slumlords,
well,
and they wouldn't repair. So what they did is they passed an ordinance for an inspection program where they started sending inspectors into the area,
yeah,
which forced the landlords they actually said, you have to meet these improvements, otherwise you can't
Can't
rent this
rent.
property anymore, even though it's rented right now. And they had to raise the level. And it was because the county took the action to enforce that code on the landlords and force the living standard up.
maybe that's the template.
Yeah.
Charlie, try to get that.
Well, maybe the other approach then is we get Commissioner Neal and the mayor involved in this, because it's their constituents.
Let's see what the cost of the project's gonna be first.
Okay.
That's what the report's gonna be.
Yeah.
It's gonna tell us what the cost is per service, and then we'll have, otherwise we're talking about things that may or may not.
Oh, yeah,
come to
that's true.
fruition. Now, since we're getting the proposals on March 27th,
Yes, sir.
will staff have a recommendation to us so we could approve that at our April 4th meeting, you think?
Could, we just won't have facilities unless we line it up just right. I mean, if we can get permission to go ahead and bring it to you all,
Or we could have the facilities meeting on April 3rd if we wanted to or something.
yeah, that'd work. I mean, we could probably schedule an evaluation. This is not gonna be rocket science here as far as evaluations go. I believe we probably got folks right here in the community that we're already all very familiar with and can do the analysis and maybe get out an answer the next day.
Okay.
I mean, a staff recommendation.
Okay, let's move ahead to the plant flows.
We didn't have any occurrences or issues this year at this month at any of the plants. Relatively dry rain-wise, so the flows didn't jump up. They're kind of coming back down to normal averages at all plants. Well,
Jimmy, the permit for Academy Creek is 13.5 million gallons a day. That's monthly average. What's the
Yes.
average daily flow it could be? It can be higher than that on the average
I
daily.
mean, what does it normally see?
Now, what can it be on the permit, do you know?
Let's see.
It's usually higher than the 13.5.
It is, and I don't remember that there is it's the monthly average is the only one they grade you on. If you have a bad day and it doesn't bust your weekly or your monthly numbers,
There's also a maximum flow too, I think, on the permit. Okay, anyway, this shows that the Academy Creek plant is 60% capacity.
yep,
Dunbar is 73%. Of course, Southport has plenty of capacity.
yeah, we need a couple more customers at Southport.
Let's move ahead to the project report.
Oh, I just had one comment I wanted to ask.
Comment?
On this. Why did the phosphorus jump so high? What causes that in February? This is on Academy Creek.
Could not say why that would,
But that's really out of range.
it is.
It went up a little bit in December too. It might be something Pinova's doing.
Could be, but usually I associate phosphorus with domestic waste, not the commercial stuff, because, you know, the soaps and things. If I had to speculate, it's something going on in the treatment process. We're not doing something just perfect.
Well, it's on the influent too, though.
Well, that's true.
Well, could you kind of get an answer and
I don't,
email us?
yeah, I will.
So it's coming in high, way
Yeah.
high.
Yeah, it's totally out of the range.
And it's coming in that way.
Yeah.
It's just done it for 2 months. It went back down. Well, it could be from some of the haulers or something like that.
Sir?
It could be from some of the haulers.
Yeah. If somebody had we're doing something kind of unusual, bringing in a lot of loads we don't normally see, that's a good start point. If somebody's got a different pattern they normally do.
If in the future, if we have something out like that, either on the influent or effluent end that has a big circle on it, talk with Mark or somebody before our meeting so you can just tell us what caused that or what you think is, or what we're doing to address that.
Okay, I will. Yeah, we're still at the,
Anything else on that? Let's move ahead to the project report. Now, these are projects that are going to be talked about in the facilities meeting too.
facilities, this is facilities.
I mean, the finance.
Well, only, we're not going into any detail in it. There is a projected cash flow model that we talked about for the expenditures. We'll have a model that includes all these and where their impacts are expected.
It's gonna be useful when it's finished, I think.
Well, it's pretty close to done now. We probably could fill it in, you know, as per the email I sent you. We'd probably be a little bolder at the end of that 5-year plan. But I want to see how things work early on, some of these things where we're getting, you know, lining projects or pipe replacement. It just may not fit into what the contractors here can get done without inconveniencing everybody and keeping 50 crews on the ground. That's an exaggeration, but
On the village storm drainage on the projects, we're replacing a water line.
yes, sir.
Is that completed yet?
No, sir. Not to my knowledge. The completion, the last completion I understood was they're looking to be done in May,
Okay.
total
And
project.
What size line are we? We're putting in an 8-inch line?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
That's what it indicates on the project status. 8-inch. It's only 250 linear feet.
The SPOS funds, Jimmy, on Alder Circle and Holly Street,
Yes, sir.
we gonna be able to use those? Have we got those reallocated or something so we can
Well-
get those spent?
What we're waiting on, and that was a discussion we had a little bit earlier, on the SPOS funds, we wanted to make sure that the needs were as we were told they were, that the lines were messed up. We've got two maps now, one for the Sea Palms East and one for Sea Palms West. It's highlighted into which sections are in need of help. I've got videos now that confirm what they gave me in the maps, or videos and pictures. So we've gone back to Charlie, and basically what Charlie asked me to do to be able to get Aaron what he needs to get it transferred to us is just a description. And what I was gonna do is just take that list of the lines that are highlighted and just call them out. These lines as defined here need to be rehabbed and slip lined and that's what we're gonna do. He needs the definition of what we're gonna do with the money, and it's just gonna be a definition of what those lines are. So he's pretty close, and I just got the pictures this week, so I'm confident now that we can claim that those lines are in severe need.
Do we know when L Street's gonna start?
I do not. Let's see. Hang on just a second.
Pre-construction meetings held March 15th, so notice to proceed April 1st. So I would think it's gonna get started pretty soon.
All right. L Street's early starts, April 1. That's projection.
It's a notice to proceed. But that's still tied to the cities.
Yes, sir.
But we've had the pre-construction conference said. So I guess the notice to proceed's already been issued. On the back of those, it has those unsolicited proposals.
Yes, sir.
A couple of those are moving ahead, like the Bergen Woods and maybe the Wade Journey, I'm not sure. the
We're
Wade
still
Journey.
waiting on them
Yeah,
to get their engineering report to us.
when we approve an unsolicited proposal like that, if they don't ever do anything for a certain period of time, do we have
Right
a
now, we don't-
deadline on those?
We don't have a limit on those. When we do the approval to evaluate them and move them forward, there's not a time limit on those. There's normally a time limit on the duration of, that they can get refunded if they have to front money on the project. But that comes when we sign the final MOU with the owner developer. But on the front end, no, they can submit it and y'all approve it for us to work with them. And we're just at their mercy to,
Yeah, but then when they submit it, like Sinclair say,
yep,
they've already submitted the engineering and everything. So that's all been approved, but nothing's going forward.
there's not
How long is that commitment out there from us?
there's no end date.
Should there be?
Until you sign the final MOU to do the work and somebody gets ready to write a check, I don't know that you do. It's just, it does take up space.
Did we,
We can change that. That's not a problem. Make, you either,
wondering if we, are we wasting a bunch of our time on these just to help developers try to get something going that they really are not gonna probably get going?
that's speculation staff has, that we are, for some of these projects, been wasting our time because it looks like they're queuing up their properties for something other than what they're asking for.
Yeah, or trying to get their prices, the property up higher so they can sell it to somebody else.
Yeah,
Saying
That's-
they've already gotten approved for sewer or something like that.
yeah,
So we could include a deadline in the,
we could,
in the.
in any of those
approval.
applications.
Okay, can you get with Todd and Andrew?
will.
And y'all come up with a recommendation?
Make a
for us on it?
recommendation.
Because it's also taking, we're incurring a lot of attorney fees on this too. On every
Well, that's
one.
true. And the 5,000 they, pay for us up front to look at those things offsets some of that. So I don't feel terrible about that, but it is a nuisance for the staff to be working on something that,
So they pay 5,000 up front just to do it.
coming in. Recommendation.
How long have y'all been doing, accepting those, just recently?
Now, this policy's been around for a few years.
Yeah, we've been doing it, but,
Just-
the first ones we did, the developer went out and started immediately.
Yeah.
This is the first time, I guess the first time was the ones over with Sinclair Plantation. Somebody seemed to be doing that for some other reason. We need, when you come up with a cutoff date, you need to talk about with your staff on whether we're gonna reimburse some of that 5,000, or whether the 5,000 is ours, and
No, it's ours, is the way I would write it.
that's fine. I just want it clear
I mean,
so that the
it'll,
developer
it'll,
knows
it'll
that
keep the
that's.
sure enough serious
Yeah,
people in the.
Yeah,
yeah. I think we're being used a little bit.
I agree.
We got a finance meeting at 10 o'clock, so let's move on to the Ridgewood tank well, proposed Ridgewood tank well.
Yep.
Jimmy, I understand that the plans are finished for this,
Yes, sir.
and it's a 1,000 gallon per minute Florida and aquifer well,
Yes, sir.
and estimated project cost is $1 million. Can you tell us, this shows where it is,
Right.
and that area right now is served by 2 Miocene wells.
Yep. The ones up at,
And we're having some pressure problems too, I think, because of the Cape Road elevation tank. And I just wonder if we should not go ahead and get the Ridgewood well project moving.
well, that's what staff said, and that would be our recommendation based on everything else. It gives us more flow up there, and certainly the Miocene wells seem to be pushing the limits, and it seems like the other issue we got going is tons of development up the spur. So this is not a bad project to pursue, if you guys tell us to get after it.
Do you know why it was put on hold?
Do not. Do not. I'm not sure. I can find out, though. Todd may have been around.
I just know if you don't use these wells, EPD can take them away from you sometime in the future. I mean, they want to make sure those, I mean, it's limited. You can't drill new wells in the Florida aquifer.
We got permits for 3, I'm told, that we haven't executed.
3 more to drill?
But this one's already there.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty easy to do
It
the
might be
modifications to
because
make
of-
it potable.
It might be because of the one we had to close down, we got a permit to,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll find out why we didn't, but again, unless there's a nobody's expressed any concerns to me that's here that were here prior to me getting here. So,
Y'all any questions on that?
I think we just need to move ahead on it. Take it to the full commission, let's vote on it and move the project ahead. It's ready to go.
yeah, it'll provide additional flows that will be handy in an area that's growing pretty well, and it would give us coverage at the industrial park there. So I don't think it's a bad deal at all.
Okay. Number 10, private asset policy for smoke testing results.
Yeah, I put that on the discussion, Ben, because basically I didn't mean for us to adopt a formal policy. My thought was, it's more or less the staff-driven, I should have called it protocol. The thing you experience and the thing I hear about and have seen is when you start getting in there and you talk about there's ordinances that require private property owners to maintain their sewer assets coming into the public assets, when you start holding their feet to the fire, well, some people can readily afford it. It's just like converting from septic tank to sewer. If you've got plenty of money, it's not a big deal. But there's going to be some homes, and maybe even some folks that have plenty of money, that are going to really not be happy with us when we point out to them that they've got a defect that's causing I&I to be incurred because of their asset condition. And if they have to go in and dig it up, replace it, we're talking a few thousand to 10 or 15,000, depending on the situation. And, where they're configured, how long their lateral is, and all those kind of things, if there's serious damage to their lateral, and they're getting smoke all over their yard because of it. But that said, I wanted everybody to know that we're trying to be prepared for this, and we're gonna try to get out ahead of it and inform folks. But you all may hear back from some of our customers who are going to be faced with the need to make repairs to their assets. And I revised I did in today's submission, I revised the notification letter to kind of give the homeowner or the property owner a little bit more background on what we're facing, why we're doing it. It doesn't just come as, fix it. There's a reason I'm asking you to fix it. We've got problems that, you need to help us with.
Jimmy, have we discussed the protocols with the county's code enforcement group?
I have not. We have not.
Okay, it might be prudent that we do that, just so we have that base covered, because we're in this together with Glynn County. I mean, they're the enforcement agency for codes.
And honestly, to that end, we've got leverage in that situation. If you read the county code as it sits right now, it's pretty strict. They've got to get things remedied within 30 days. I'm not going to press that kind of timeline in the protocol we're going to push out there, but the aspects of what we have leverage to do something if they don't move, independent of what the county may or may not help us with.
Right, understood. I think notification to them and help them to understand
that we're gonna be-
this could expand their scope of calls
I'll do it.
and impact their resources. So as a courtesy, I think it'd be beneficial for them to know.
I agree.
Well, there are a couple of things we need to talk to code enforcement about, and that gets into the plumbing and their ability to cause owners to correct.
Oh, yeah, on the,
On renters and others. So you might sit down and have a discussion with them and see what their limitations are.
And what Commissioner Elliott's referring to, I talked briefly about it a while ago when we were talking about what leverage we have on the other issues. We got certainly poor people or people that are economically challenged that live in rentals, the slumlord homes that you were talking about. And they're fighting a battle. We can give them leak relief this month, and they're gonna have a new leak next month, because they're in older properties, run-down plumbing, that kind of thing. They're in a predicament because they can't afford really to go anywhere else, and they can't really say too much for the landlord, because the landlord has to fix it. They're gonna, you know, there may be retribution on the tenant who can ill afford to be, you know, jacked, his rents jacked up. So FYI, that's a sticky wicket, and if we could figure a way to get them to fix the plumbing in their slum houses without it causing a problem for the existing tenants, and maybe, again, the template you were talking about, Steve, is the one in Atlanta.
For the county to think about.
Yes.
What they could send in the fire department, do an inspection, they have the health department, they have multiple resources likely.
I'll get with Commissioner Neal and see if he would be interested in moving something like that along. I think that'd be the approach.
I think, talk to Mr. Hours.
Oh, okay.
Anything else?
Sir, I don't have anything at this time.
Okay, we'll call the facilities meeting
Adjourn.
completed.